Just ran a transaction. Had to pay a ticket to a courthouse in Galveston County. It just reminds me of a time whenever I was running the business, when I owned the smoke shop in Austin, or when I took over the smoke shop in Austin. I had to make a deal with the payment processor. And at that point, I had hired somebody. He had been a customer and kind of a friend for a while. It had been a customer to my two best friends for years previous. Very, very nice gentleman. Anyway, boy, whenever he was in the office with me when I made the phone call to the guy who had been taking the payment processing. He was the same guy that Cameron and Alex were using for the last, I don't know, 8 or 10 years or however long. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it was a long time. Anyway, Cameron had just gotten off the phone with him, and he had canceled the service, and he instructed him to move it over to me. Well, as soon as I got on the phone with this guy, it was like, and the nice guy that I had hired to kind of watch the shop for me, he was sitting right next to me, and he was just like, what the Anyway, this payment processor guy raped the absolute shit out of both of us. And I passed it on down like everything was just fine and dandy. This was, I don't know, almost 3 years ago. Anyway, homeboy lost his ever flippin' loving mind. And he went home and his chick lost her mind. And they exploded on me. And rightfully so. I completely understand why they did that. And I apologize in retrospect. My God, I was a total asshole for even letting that go through. But that is my personal experience with dealing with payment processors directly. These people literally, they're extensions of the banking industry, which they're the ones who lie to the masses about the dollar. So yeah, that was what that transaction that I just had just now reminded me of. And there's the receipt that was just sent to my email. While I'm on the subject, there's also this status quo within the money world. And when I say money world, it's like this bioelectric circuitry that runs throughout all businesses, i.e. the credit card processing kind of thing. There's a status quo that exists where people don't like to talk about religion or politics, whenever you're doing business. Well, if you're giving somebody your hard-earned U.S. dollars, your love energy that you have to earn at the expense of your enslavement masters, for lack of a better term, you should at least be able to talk about real stuff that affects all of us. And so, man, who cares about the status quo? Who cares what people feel like is acceptable within the terms of a trade agreement? You should be able to go to the grocery store and talk about the shit that affects all of us. You should be able to talk about the inequalities that exist. You should be able to talk about our political landscape. You should be able to talk about Christ. You should be able to talk about the truth about God. You should be able to talk about Jehovah. You should be able to talk about Yahweh. You should be able to talk about the earth and the state of the earth. You should be able to talk about anything and everything. Especially if you're running money through people. While we're on the subject, again, I would like to say, whenever Jesus went out to the wilderness and he learned about his heavenly Father, He came back, and what did he find? He found a bunch of people buying and selling in the temple, buying and selling goats and cattle, so on and so forth. Well, when he did, he was extremely ticked off. So much so that he made a whip from ropes and drove out all the cattle and the salesmen, and he flipped all the tables of the money changers. So, digressing just slightly before I come back to this, I understand why Homeboy lost his shit, because ultimately, coming back, Jesus later said that our bodies are our temples. And what do you do in a temple? Do you use your body as a means of transactions, or do you use your body, your temple, as a means to glorify God, as a place where we can vibrate the ultimate epic awesomeness of God back to Him? Or do we utilize our bodies as a means of validating this stupid system that Satan has set up, which ultimately enslaves and controls the entire world? Well, that was a short one. Maybe this one will go on Instagram Reels. Make me famous, dude. God bless you, and there's your lesson for the day.